Hello, and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your co-host, Reynoso, here with my boy...
Soltero. What's up, guys?
Alpa Atleti? Alpa Atleti?
Alpa Atleti, baby. I'm here to say that anything is possible, ladies and gentlemen. Atletico Madrid just embarrassed Real Madrid 3-1 at the Civitas Metropolitano. The capital of Spain is not white today.
No.
It's red and blue.
Go off,
and
King.
white.
Go
Let's
off.
fucking go, man. Fuck Madrid. No, I'm just kidding. But, dude, what a game. What a game. The Colchoneros put Los Merengues to bed, bro. Yeah. And what a start to the game, dude. Immediately starting with Samuel Lino on the left-hand side with a beautiful dribble penetration. No Madridista steps up to stop him, and he puts in a beautiful curling ball to a beautifully running Alvaro Morata. And within the third minute, Atleti is up 1-0. I honestly couldn't believe it. Yeah. It was a dream start at the Metropolitano. And, bro... that atmosphere was insane.
I can't believe it, bro. I can't believe it.
And it really made me think. I was like, damn, I really, really miss big Champions League games there.
Oh,
like big ones, like quarterfinals, like round of 16s, like big ones where we actually have like a big chance. Because realistically, all we get nowadays is when we host Madrid or when we host Barcelona. And I'll be completely honest, man. When we had this game today, I was actually pretty nervous. Based off of our current form, getting a late draw against Lazio, losing 3-0 to Valencia on the week prior, it's just not the best form to go into this game. But dude, that 1-0 lead to take it early. Atletico Madrid, we were here, and I was screaming, bro, screaming. It felt like we just won the fucking league. Like I was just pure ecstasy in that moment.
Nothing better.
And before the 20-minute mark, we double the lead.
Yes.
We double it. Samuel Lino once again on the same left-hand side. This time, Saul Niguez with a nice little diagonal run. Lino finds him in space. Once again, wide open. Akers. He pops over a perfect little cross ball, and it finds a wide open Antoine Griezmann. Nice little flick header, and it's 2-0, bro. 2-0. And I just couldn't believe, once again, I honestly could not believe it. And Madrid themselves just looked lost. Yes. That second goal really kind of disheveled them, discombobulated them, and they were out of it for the next 15, 20 minutes. And then finally, towards the end of that first half, Madrid finally started to get a little bit back into it, kind of show their class a little bit. Toni Kroos with a, let's be honest, a beautiful, beautiful goal. Yeah. And it's honestly trademark at this point. Yeah. When he's, 22, 23 yards out, and he shifts it over to his right boot, he can hit it so cleanly, and he always finds that near post.
Yes,
always finds that near post.
Never. Always on that near post.
Always just right a foot outside of that post, and he gets it right in there.
Unstoppable.
Oblak really couldn't stop it. I actually wasn't even mad. There's really nothing we could have done. It was actually a really good reception from Kroos to shift it over to his right foot. I thought we tried to close him down. We didn't do it perfectly, but, I mean, Kroos was just better offense in that moment.
But it almost, in a way, didn't seem that intimidating because that's what it took for Real Madrid to get on the board, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in past years when Atleti would have these feisty games against Real Madrid, I remember you guys would maybe take a lead, and then you had to deal with Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Right.
And him getting involved and doing his bullshit. But now, with this offensive conundrum that Real Madrid is in right now, I mean, leave it to Atleti to really expose their flaws and their concerns, because despite them getting that beautiful goal to make it 2-1, from the moment the second half began to the 90th minute, it was clear that Atleti today had Madrid's number. And they just weren't breaking it, bro. They weren't. That offense was not fluid. They couldn't find the gaps in the spaces to ultimately get into that final third and create something dangerous. Atleti stood sturdy. They stood sound. And they got yet a third header to win this game 3-1, bro.
Yeah, crazy. 3 headers, 3 goals, ridiculous. And that third goal was the easiest of them all. It was so nonchalant. Once again, just found space on that left-hand side again. Just pops it over. Yeah. Pops it over, and Morata's just like, all right, thank you very much. And it's 3-1 at that point. And we saw, as you said, we saw the game out. And, we came out victorious, bro. Yeah. It was ridiculous. And we saw that iconic Simeone conduction of the crowd where he just lifts everybody up at the final minutes. And, dude, I live for that shit. I live for it. And, taking a step back, taking off my biased lens, I will say Madrid were really poor today.
That's my takeaway, man.
It's why we won 3-1.
Yeah.
If they had actually shown up defensively, honestly, they probably couldn't have gotten a result.
Yeah.
Like, Atletico weren't that much dominant over them. We just executed our game plan to pretty much as perfectly as we could have, whereas Madrid were the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Whatever defensive plan that they had just was immediately broken in the 3rd minute, and they really never recovered defensively. Dude, their help defense was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Fran Garcia, Camavinga, Alaba, and Rudiger, bro, dude, they had no communication. Zero communication, especially on those on all 3 goals. Either Alaba or Rudiger would go up and try to block some sort of Atleti attack, and there'd be a wide open runner coming into the box, but no one ever picked them up when they really should have. The help defense was so bad for Madrid, and it's why in every single replay that you see of Atleti's goals, dude, there's not a single defender next to them.
But they're barking at each other. I remember the 3rd one, because that was the worst one to concede.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Alaba, I think, overplayed, and he expected Fran Garcia to come behind him and help, and Fran Garcia's just out there in empty space. And Alaba looks back and he's like, what the hell are you doing over there? Just not on the same page. And that was like that the whole game, bro. And it was clear that Atletico, like you said, executed their game plan, but to me, it's the reason why I brought up the Ronaldo Real Madrid days. The old classic Real Madrid would not have let this happen. Usually they find a way to tie or to win this match, but the current day, the current state of Real Madrid right now is that they are capable of losing in this way. And it's the reason for why I don't truly consider them actual threats for Manchester City as of right now for the Champions League, because they have this very weak link attached to their team right now that concerns me. And Atleti, man, of all teams, Atleti exposed it today.
Yeah, because if I'm being completely honest, if this was Barcelona, for example, kind of as we saw against Celta, we can talk about that later, but I think Barcelona would have found a way back.
Probably.
Like, I'll be honest, Atletico weren't like that amazing today. I think 3-1 looks incredible, but Madrid actually gave us that. I think they gifted us this win today. But look, I mean, I'm going to take it every single day of the week. But another point to add for Madrid is no Vinicius. You know, for me, their most deadliest threat that they have offensively. So without that, that's definitely going to help Atletico, you know, because now we really only have to look out for Rodrigo and then Valverde maybe. And then, you know, the rest of Madrid, I feel like we can always handle. So as you said, with no guys like Benzema or Ronaldo or Ramos, you know, Madrid really don't have big name players that can step up in these big type of situations. Bellingham has been the hero recently, but honestly, this was probably his quietest game. But it kind of makes sense since, you know, he's not actually asked to score in every single game. And I think we finally just got on the end of a lucky run where Bellingham doesn't actually score. So Atletico, we get a big win today. We still have a long season to go, bro. A long season. We're heavily looking forward to that Barca game whenever that happens, man, because, you know, I just miss these big games because, God, dude, the atmosphere is crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I just wanted more of it, bro. I wanted more of it. There's nothing better than getting a derby win, too, bro. There's nothing better. After that game, dude, I just had a smile on my face for like the next 2 hours.
Damn.
Like, I was just happy, man. It was awesome. And to all other Madrid fans out there, I hope you cried today. I hope you had the worst day of your life. At least for the most recent history, bro, because, you know, I mean, I got to take this. I got to take this win big time.
I had a lot of people DM me, about 5 people DM me right after the result of the game, just wondering, what's the current state of Soltero? How's Soltero doing? How's he feeling? Is Soltero lit right now? And all I could tell them was wait for tomorrow. We got the episode coming. Soltero, I guarantee you, is excited about this result. Because like you said, there's nothing better than beating your rival, man. There's nothing better.
It felt so good.
And since this was kind of a weekend full of rivalries, I'm actually going to choose to flip on over to another rivalry. So we're going to leave the La Liga. We can come back to it in a second. But I want to talk about Arsenal versus Tottenham.
London
because
derby.
In terms of stature, in terms of entertainment, the crowd involvement, I think what we see from the crowds at Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid matches is almost equivalent to what we see between Arsenal and Tottenham, the North London derby. It's ridiculous how intense these fans get, how active, how passionate these English fans are about their teams. And then the game itself, it makes for some really entertaining football, with both these teams coming into this match as, you know, teams that have been off to really positive starts, especially, very surprisingly, Tottenham, who's having a crazy, amazing start to the season under Postecoglou, going to the Emirates Stadium and facing off against Arsenal. And what did we see, brother? We saw a game in which over 90 minutes back and forth action. Arsenal-Tottenham is one of the best matchups to see in this league, and it delivered.
It absolutely delivered. Personally, I just wish there was a winner, especially with Manchester City being perfect at the start of the season. I think there needed to be a winner, and I think Arsenal needed to be that winner considering they were at home. But congratulations to Tottenham. And, you know, the man of the hour for me, well, we can name two, but I'll start with the assist man, James Maddison, bro. Absolute class. Just ridiculously filthy on the ball. Not even surprised by it. Yeah. I'm not even pointing that out. I'm not surprised by how good he is. We've known how good he is with his performances at Leicester and Norwich, but I'm so happy to see him fully thrive and reach his maximum potential with Tottenham, dude. Yeah. It's so good to see him actually perform at the highest level that he could, because I've always really considered Maddison to be such a good attacking midfielder. But, you know, he's never really had the best guys around him, I think, to make him look as good. But finally, I think he found his team.
James Maddison was a player that I highlighted as one of my personal favorite summer transfer window signings at a bargain price of 40 million euros. And it's paying out in dividends right now for Tottenham and Postecoglou. The way he's utilizing him, the danger he provides to so many different zones of the pitch. Today we saw him absolutely body Bukayo Saka on the left side of the wing, but most of the time we see him do his work, you know, outside the box in the central area. But he can also go right. He can head the ball in. He can score a volley. He's even got free kick game to him. He's such a well-rounded offensive player that when you give him the proper tools, the way that Postecoglou has with this Tottenham side, I mean, you see what he's doing now. I think he has 2 goals, 4 assists in the league so far. Something like that, like 6 goal and assist contributions already this early into the season.
That's crazy.
It's crazy that in a big game such as this, it was him and Heung-min Son who were able to stand out as the, you know, superstars of the match, because what even makes it more remarkable is when you look across the pitch at, you know, who Arsenal spent their money on this transfer window, and it's $65 million man Kai Havertz, who is still struggling to find his role within the team. And even another play that doesn't get as much criticism, I think, is a guy like Jorginho, who lost the ball and turned it over, causing Tottenham to go on the break and scoring their second goal to tie the match up. They were saying that Jorginho doesn't deserve the Ino in his name anymore. He's George now. He's George now, bro.
He's just George.
He's George now. And so I'm just saying that's a representation of the current state of some of these Arsenal players. But I agree. The way I saw the images of these players walking off the field, it seemed like Arsenal was walking out with their heads down while Tottenham was walking with their heads up. I think leaving the Emirates Stadium, Tottenham is feeling much better about themselves than how Arsenal is, because of the fact you pointed out. I think Arsenal understands they need to win these matches to stay in the title race. And Tottenham, I think for them, it's just a matter of competing for top 4 and improving upon the season that they had last year. So props to them, because I do think ultimately they slightly outplayed Arsenal today.
Yeah, these were the type of games last season that ultimately cost Arsenal the season, and why Manchester City was able to get a lead over Arsenal and then expand it and win the title. These games happened just later on in the season for Arsenal, where they would have crazy shootouts but not get a win, not get the win that they really desperately needed. And this was that game. At home against a very good team, but it was still beatable. They could have beaten them. It ended up 2-2, but they just couldn't get over the line and win the game. All credit to Tottenham, because they showed up and they were able to get 2 very, very good goals. Ultimately, when you look at Arsenal's 2 goals, they scored some very curious ones, man. They just exploited El Cuti Romero's bad luck today, realistically. Like, that's actually kind of crazy. I will say, though, it is really unfortunate for Arsenal that they were missing both Trossard and Martinelli. So they had to start Jesus and Nketiah both up top. Kind of weird, and honestly, I don't think Arteta's ever utilized that formation before, or at least those 2 players at the same time.
On the left wing and Nketiah in the middle. I didn't like that going into the game.
Yeah, but when you look at it, he really couldn't do anything else unless he just played a non-offensive player out in that left wing position. So I don't blame him for doing that. But at the same time, I just think it's unfortunate that he didn't have either of his left wingers to use. But again, it's not ultimately an excuse, because you still had 10 of your other starters. So it's just a little bit of bad luck. But, you know, I think, as you kind of said, Tottenham just outplayed Arsenal. I think 2-2's very fair, though. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I really wanted Arsenal to win this, so they could at least prove to me that they were here for the title race. And they still are. It's still early. Manchester City can still drop points. But, again, these are the type of games that Arsenal really needed to win this year, I think, to prove to everybody that, you know, they've improved their game.
They're calling him Martin Ghostegard, man, because he ghosted this game, bro. Invisible. Didn't see him today. While James Maddison on the other side was playing a very similar role in cooking, Odegaard couldn't really do that for this Arsenal side today. But it was weird because the offensive lineup, like you said, was weirdly shaped going into the game.
Yeah.
Surprising notes, David Raya essentially seems to have earned the starting position over Aaron Ramsdale in goal. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of been coming, huh?
Yeah.
You know, for the last like 2 weeks, I think everyone's been saying Raya's the technically better goalkeeper. Therefore, he should get the starting position. Whether Arteta's kind of heard that in the background or he sees it in training, who knows? But I'm actually okay with Raya. I mean, he was phenomenal last year, and he really is a good goalkeeper. It is a little tough on Ramsdale because he was so good last year. But, you know, he's made a couple of weird decisions, maybe a couple of mistakes this season already. So why not put in Raya? I mean, I think it's good competition overall. And if Raya truly is the better goalkeeper and performs at a higher rate right now, then you have to start him.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question. You don't fuck around with something like that. So happy for David Raya, man, because he is a phenomenal goalkeeper.
Yes. Sticking in the Prem, since we are talking about the elite sides that could potentially contend for the title, let's talk about the opposite side of the relegation battle and the teams that seem set to, you know, get relegated in this league. Luton, Sheffield, and Burnley. 3 teams that got promoted amassed these results this weekend. Yeah. Luton Town had the best one, tying 1-1 against Wolves, but when you watch the game, you see that Luton at one point went a man up with Wolves getting a red card and then needing a shoddy penalty to just tie up the match regardless.
And the red card was early.
Bro.
They had an hour up a man.
Yes, at home, by the way.
Yeah.
In front of fans that, you know, wanted to see them do something positive. All they could do was get a 1-1 draw against a team that I believe is also in the relegation competition.
Yeah.
Sheffield United got... Should I be nice about this one, bro?
They got relegated today, bro. That was bad, man. That was crazy.
8, bro. 8. An 8-piece burger, bro, against Newcastle United, man.
I'd be so depressed if I was Sheffield.
First time in the Prem where 8 different players score in a match.
I saw that.
Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
That's shameful, bro. You cannot allow your team. How do you, as a Sheffield fan, as a Sheffield United fan, how do you even justify that, bro? How can you look at your players, your team? How can you defend your squad? If there's a Sheffield United kid out there, don't go to school tomorrow. I recommend that because I truly think this is a situation for bullying. The situation that could get out of hand, bro. Because there's nothing a Sheffield United fan can say right now to defend themselves because this result is abysmal.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then you look over and you also have Burnley facing off against Manchester United. Burnley actually playing a pretty good game. I think at one point they had about 66% possession, but Man United, a team that I really don't like right now, somehow find a way to get the 1-0 victory. Burnley fails to win a game. So look at it like this, man. 16 combined games so far between Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield United. Not a single win. Not a single one.
Right.
Donut. Is this the worst relegation / promotion class that we've seen ever?
Ooh, that's really interesting.
16 games, bro.
Because this could be almost like a twofold type of question because we're going into the season. We've been talking about this for like the past year or two.
Yeah.
The Premier League is just going up and up and up and up.
Yes.
And we always make the parallel to other European leagues, but I think the same parallel can be made within the English system itself. I think the Premier League is going to get so competitive that even the division right below it is, I think, going to start desperately struggling to be even competitive when they get that promotion spot. That's really interesting, man, because so far it's looking absolutely terrible. The only thing I will say, and I think I said it like 3 weeks ago, Burnley, I think, are getting a little unlucky. I think they're getting a little unlucky because when I have seen them play, they mainly play a really positive type of football. And I think the only thing that's kind of screwing them over right now is that they're playing, I think they've pretty much have only played top 10 table teams.
Yeah.
And so I think once they start playing more caliber teams that are of their level, I think hopefully they'll start getting some points on the table. So I think Burnley won't be as bad, but I think Sheffield and Luton are done for sure. I think they're done.
And Luton specifically, we've talked about it, behind the cameras, because sometimes we gotta like test our takes out in front of each other before we say this shit on camera. But I do think we need to reveal this one, or at least consider it, bro. Will Luton actually win a game, bro?
Yeah.
Will they actually win a game?
Yeah, a little inside joke between me and Reynoso is Luton's not winning a game this season. They're not winning a game. I'm sorry, guys.
Should we up it to 5? Should we say they're not winning 5 games this year? Because last year, the worst team in the Prem that finished in 20th place won 6. I think that was Southampton.
I'll even double down on it. I say they won't win more than 3.
More than 3?
Yeah.
3? Oh, dude, but I think after what I saw this weekend, man, like everything was being handed to them, and to get a tie ultimately against a Wolves side that I find to be so disappointing said a lot to me in regards to this is not a good situation.
No, and they forced the red card too. If you saw the foul, Tom Lockyer literally locks up his legs, and then the Wolves player retaliates and therefore gets a red card. It was kind of dirty on the Luton side, and so they got lucky in that regard too. That's what it took for them to get a draw.
Yeah, it almost didn't have to do with like the actual gameplay. It was it's like that Rodri red card too, where it's just a weird decision in actions there, and they just got a red card. Luton ain't winning more than 3 games then.
I don't think so, but I'll still stand by. They're not winning a game. I'm just going to say it.
That'd be fun.
But like, realistically, 3. Realistically, 3. But
3. But imagine, though, it's like 25 games into the season.
And they won like once.
Oh, my God, dude.
Crazy.
I'm so interested now on a week-to-week basis to root against them because I want to see that donut. When it comes to the win column, I want to see that circle, man, and just see how long that can last. The same way people keep up with these top teams in terms of can they go invincible, right? Can they replicate Arsenal's record like Manchester City this year? I'm going to do the opposite, but with relegation, man, and with the worst teams here. I could even include Sheffield here, bro. Will they actually be able to win a game? Let's see, bro.
Speaking about relegation, a team that I had predicted would get relegated was Everton. And I caught their game this weekend because I wanted to see how they were doing. They hadn't gotten the best results lately, and they went to Brentford, a team that's, mid-table right now. They've been getting some decent results, but have been pretty inconsistent. But let me tell you right now, Everton put on their best performance of the season. They were absolutely phenomenal, man. Yeah. They were fantastic. And in contrast, this was Brentford's worst performance. They
really
were
surprising.
Really bad. Sloppy on the ball, really inaccurate with their passing. All of their first touches were incredibly heavy. They had no creativity going forward. It was pathetic from Brentford, to be quite honest. And they were at home. The fans were silent. They were like, what the fuck are we looking at? But Everton, on the other hand, had a really good game plan. Idrissa Gana Gueye, Andre Onana, and Abdoulaye Doucouré had phenomenal performance. Had a phenomenal performance against Brentford. But specifically, I really want to point out Doucouré, man. Dude, he does it all for Everton. He does it all. Box-to-box midfielder on a defensive perspective. But offensively, he plays a number 10 role where he's pulling the strings. He's doing penetrative passes. He's creating chances for his offense right underneath Beto. But then also at the same time, he'll join Beto, become a number 9, get in the box, and be on the receiving end of crosses and score bangers.
Bootleg Bellingham, man. That's what he is.
That's what he is, bro.
He's playing his goddamn heart out every week, man. I've noticed that. Dukes Doucouré scoring the most iconic goal for Everton in the last year with that season-saving goal that he got at the very end of the season last year to keep them from getting relegated. It's players like him, and it's games like this for why I did end up putting Everton slightly edging out relegation and instead putting Wolves in their position. Remember when we made our Premier League predictions? I made sure to say Everton would just barely survive, but it's because of this shit that they're capable of on like random days. It's not consistent, and it's not enough to rely on, and they're going to be really close to that edge constantly, but there is a potential that they can kind of tap into. I know I sound hopeful right now. I'm not saying they achieve anything notable. I'm just saying this is what's going to keep them from falling back into the championship for the first time like in over 70 years. I think it's games like this, but Brentford themselves, man, really surprising result now, and in the bottom, I think 15 of the standings. Really surprising because I had them in my top 10, I believe, as like number 10. Yeah,
Brentford, I think, are eagerly waiting Ivan Toney's return, and I do think they need him, especially for games like this where they could just use his activity, his really good personality as far as being super positive, super aggressive, because no other player seemed like they wanted it on the day against Everton, and Everton took complete advantage of Brentford's poor performance. If Everton play like this, not even that consistently, I think they'll definitely avoid the drop.
Hey, my squad got the same scoreline as you did today. Liverpool wins 3-1 against West Ham. Pretty rare for both of us to, feel good on a certain day, man. So that's nice. Salah, Nunez, Jota getting on the board here. Liverpool extend their unbeaten run to 18 games now. And I remember when we signed Alexis McAllister and Dominique Szoboszlai, and we reacted to it on the pod. I got a little carried away, but I did say Liverpool's back. We're back. We're going to get back to our winning ways. We're going to amass the heights that we once reached just a couple years ago, and we're going to forget the weird season that happened last year.
Weird season.
Premier League predictions came around, and I put them in third, right? I couldn't get myself to put them in that top 2 slot, but it was today's game that really made me kind of realize and consider, I think it's official now. I think it's real. I think Liverpool is almost preparing themselves for this. I think they're actual contenders now for the Prem.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the standings now, it's just like the old days, bro. Manchester City up front, and then Liverpool right behind them in second.
Yeah.
I think it's official. Liverpool will be competing for the title. This squad is very well versed now, and I think Jurgen Klopp really appreciates what he has at his disposal now with, instead of having to deal with these aging midfielders that can maybe sometimes have limitations, he has an Energizer bunny and Dominique Szoboszlai, who can run his ass off for 90 straight minutes, press, and play some really high-quality football. And then you have a class midfielder in Alexis McAllister, who got a crazy quarterback-like assist today to Darwin Núñez. Up front, plenty of options. I don't need to talk about that. And for me, the biggest question was their defense. How does the defense shore itself up after a season that I thought was disappointing? And, Van Dijk seems to be getting back to his true form. Joe Gomez has ascended more in terms of his ability in the back line. Yeah. You got a guy like Konate and Matip just switching back and forth. Whenever one gets injured, the other one steps up. Alisson playing as one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And Andy Robertson just being solid as he has always been. I think Liverpool is officially back, bro. They truly, truly are. And without much of a concern now when it comes to these European matches, since they're in the Europa League, they do have the option now to really focus in on the Premier League and see if they're able to challenge Manchester City. I still don't think they'll ultimately be able to do it because I think this Manchester City team is a goddamn machine, but they're going to make it really, really close. And it's getting me hyped for that Manchester City-Liverpool matchup that we'll see at one point in the season.
Oh, yeah, dude. With Liverpool being back to form, I'm so excited for the City game, the Arsenal game, the Tottenham game. Because I think those are the only 3 teams that Liverpool would not struggle against, but actually find an equal opponent in. Because outside of those 3 teams, the way Liverpool's playing right now, I think they beat every other team in the Prem right now. They're flying that high. So I actually agree with you. I think Liverpool they're back. But back in the terms of they're here for the title race and they're going to go for it this year. I think they'll be even better next year, which is why I also put them in 3rd place for my prediction. I didn't ultimately see them vying for the title in the way that Arsenal did last year. But, I mean, dude, what a start for Liverpool because they're absolutely electric. Absolutely electric.
On fire. And on the opposite side, you have a team like Chelsea, who lost today against Aston Villa 1-0 at home. And I'm going to give them the 3 S's, bro. The 3 S's of shame. They were spineless, they were soft, and they were sucky. Terrible performance from Chelsea once again, following up just a number of disastrous performances that we've seen from them in the Premier League. I'm going to be honest, man. I don't think I've ever seen this in football. To see the amount of money that has been spent on a squad and see how little that truly has impacted results. Yeah. Like, this is crazy, bro. Usually there's at least a little bit of an uptick in what you see in terms of maybe they get more draws than usual. Maybe they get a couple more wins. But for Chelsea, I mean, there's arguments for them playing worse now than how they were playing last year, man. Yeah. And this is them in 14th place now, failing to even compete with an Aston Villa side that came into Stamford Bridge and got a result. Yeah. I think that's pretty fucking crazy. A stat that I think kind of highlights the impressive players that they've been able to sign, but yet the lack of results is Enzo Fernandez. And now he's only registered 1 win against a current Premier League side since Chelsea signed him for 106 million euros. Over $1 billion spent in the past 2 years. For me, this is solidified now. This is one of the most rare situations I've ever seen in terms of money spent and results, and it's absolutely abysmal.
Before I get into it, I will say I actually consider Aston Villa to be a better team in reality than Chelsea, even with the money that they've spent. When you look at the 2 11s and the chemistry that each possess, I actually think Villa are the better team. So I think if you really look at this loss, you actually shouldn't be surprised because, in my opinion, whatever the bookies say, I don't care. In my opinion, Villa are actually the better squad, but it doesn't change the fact that Chelsea are barely winning, right? It doesn't change that fact. So now to get into it, This is really bizarre. This is fucking crazy. But I think what's even crazier is just the fact that I think what's actually happening is the players that Chelsea are buying, somehow, some way, the sellers are inflating the price big time. So, for example, Enzo Fernandez was bought for over $100 million, but I don't think he was worth $100 million.
No, absolutely not.
And you could probably say that for every single player they bought over the last 2 years. Heavy inflation is occurring when Chelsea go to purchase a player. Look at a player like Mudryk, right?
Yeah.
Has a lot of potential, and he played well with Shakhtar, and he was getting call-ups to the Ukrainian national team and playing in European qualifiers, right? But he had never proved, even at a big stage, that he could score or assist on a consistent basis. So he should not have costed as much as he did. But it's Chelsea coming to Shakhtar, hey, we want your player. So I think naturally what's going to happen is they're just going to up that price. And Chelsea being Chelsea aren't going to budge as far as, oh, you lower the price. They'll just be like, all right, fuck it, we'll give you 80 mil. You know what I mean? So I think that's what's making this look a lot worse, is that when you actually break it down, none of these players are worth what they actually are. And I think it's making this whole situation look even worse. And again, it goes back to my initial idea. The 11 that Chelsea have now versus the 11 Aston Villa have, Villa's the better squad. And whether you look at it from a money perspective or not, I really don't care. Talent-wise, Villa have the better team.
They lost to Nottingham last week.
Right.
They couldn't beat Sheffield United a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's those examples that heighten the result that happened today.
Exactly. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. Yeah. But I'm just saying that I think what's really happening here is just inflation to a really crazy degree. And the thing is, Chelsea have no excuses because they agreed to buy these players. And the thing is, when you pay that much money, you should get some sort of output and wins. And that's not happening. So that's on Chelsea. It's on the 100%. Chelsea board for accepting these purchases and being like, all right, screw it. We can spend as much as we want, and this should give us wins, right? Yeah. But it's not. Yeah. So I don't even blame the players, honestly. I don't even blame Pochettino, even though he should be doing better. I just think it's just stupid from a Chelsea scouting perspective because, dude, they're basically look at any top prospect that's like not being bought by other team and they're giving them at minimum 60
That's
million.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's stupid.
They get hyped up players. Mudryk had like a good 30 minutes against Real Madrid in the Champions League like a couple years ago. Yeah. And because of that, they were able to buy him for 100 million euros.
Right.
But that's where my issue comes in, is not even so much the money price point argument that you're bringing up. For me, it's a selection, man, because seeing how the top elite teams in the Premier League operate, there's a very calculated move. Even though if you're going to spend a lot of money, it's very like well managed. You look at Manchester City and the guys they get, getting a guy like Jeremy Doku, right? Yeah. Keeping a tab on him, keeping eyes on him, seeing how he's been rising to prominence for the past 2-3 years, but seeing that he has truly good foundation and fundamentals that will lead to success in the Premier League. And what do you see? Immediately he comes into the Man City squad and makes a name for himself right away. For Chelsea, the guys that they're buying outside of like, you know, like a guy like Enzo Fernandez, who I think is class.
Yeah, he is.
When you compare one good guy to 15 other signings that have completely failed, I think it's because they haven't scouted these guys out properly and haven't made good financial decisions either. So it's a combination of all these things that are making for one of the craziest situations I've ever seen in terms of management and financial decision making. And it's just bad, bro. And I love to see it though as it's like a soap opera over there, just constantly seeing time and time again not getting these results, seeing the people react to it, seeing Chelsea fans lose their minds on a weekly basis. I just thought this would end at some point is what I'm saying, because this has been going on since Potter joined the squad, man. That was over a year ago, and it's just continued over and over again. Will there be an end to this? Will these players at some point find a way to gel with each other? Will Pochettino be able to find some positivity within the squad? What is going to end up ultimately happening? Because if we see yet another Chelsea season that ends with them finishing below 10th place, bro, I think that this will be one of the craziest things that have happened in football because of the money that's been attached to this situation.
Yeah, and this is where I'll get personal, but I wish there was punishment for something like this.
Ooh.
Because if you finish below 10th and you spend $1 billion, there's got to be like, okay, you can't buy anyone for the next 3 years.
Dude.
I'd love that.
I actually really love that idea, man. I really do.
Because if they're not going to put a cap, I just wish there was some sort of checks and balances that was in football. Obviously, we've had this type of conversation before, and it just always ends the same way. The soccer market is just too big, and it's just too free. So you can't control it, but I just wish there was a way to.
Usually it's relegation, right? But Chelsea's in that weird middle ground where they're not going to get relegated.
No, not when you have Sheffield and Luton in your league.
Yes.
You know, it's just...
So there should be something else that goes beyond just a slap on the wrist, such as finishing mid-table and the embarrassment that comes with it. They should take the lion from the logo. You know, and fucking send him off somewhere else.
Yeah, make him like an academy. Give him like an academy jersey.
Make him an accountant, bro. Figure out the fucking finances. Do some other shit. Oh, actually, yeah, like a badge of shame would be like something on their sleeve that they just constantly have to wear. Imagine that being attached to your jersey and seeing that for the next following season. You don't think that's going to make them improve, bro? That's going to help them, if anything. Yeah. So I think this is all for the better of the sport and the game, but... Fuck it, man. They haven't figured it out, and so we see Chelsea finish mid-table once again. I want to see if it actually ends up panning out that way because I'm gonna lose my mind on. I'm gonna go off on Chelsea at the end of the season if they finish below 10th place.
I just find it so funny that it all started with a really anxious and quick firing of Tuchel. It's just stupid because that's what this all comes down to. You know, he had won the Champions League with him, was getting decent results in the league, and after like a bad, or not even a bad, it was just a weird 2-month start, and they're like, all right, fuck it, let's use our money and buy Potter. Yeah. And that's where it all started, with a stupid purchase. Yeah. Because it just didn't need to happen. But they did it, and it has been nothing but that since.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was definitely the shift. I'm seeing Chelsea fans now on Twitter post like highlight videos of what like the heights of like Potter football. Like, and I saw like a comment under it was like the revisionist history under this shit is incredible, bro. Yes, it started there, man. It really did, and it's been a shit show ever since. And it helps me transition over to what I want to talk about next because I think the pure most opposite example of what Chelsea is doing is Brighton, right? Yeah. Brighton getting a 3-1 victory against Bournemouth. Don't have much to say about the game. If anything, Mitoma got 2 goals in this match. And I was just watching him, and I was like, bro, where did Mitoma come from? Like, where did this guy truly come from? Because you look at his age, and he's 26 years old. Sometimes I had this idea where like he's like a 21, 22-year-old up-and-coming player, but he's entering his prime years now. And granted, it's showing because he's having a crazy season so far. Dude, he's off. 3 goals, 3 assists so far. Last year he had 7 goals and 5 assists. So he's definitely gonna top those numbers in this coming season. But still, where did Mitoma come from? Because he's just such an incredible talent and quickly becoming one of mine as well as other people's favorite players to watch in the Premier League. And so I looked into it, man, and Mitoma is almost like a Japanese Riyad Mahrez.
I was just going to say, he sounds like Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah, he truly was a late bloomer. Yeah. Because in his like 17, 18, 19 year phases, he really didn't play much football, bro. I actually looked and I read into it. Mitoma himself professed to feeling unprepared to enter professional football at age 18. Damn. So instead, he focused on his schooling, his academics, and he actually wrote his university thesis on dribbling.
Yeah, I've heard that story, bro. Yeah. Like he's studied dribbling, and that's why he's like so good now.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. But he truly didn't start like really pursuing football until 2020, which was just like 3 years ago, right? Coming out of COVID was like the biggest thing for him. Debuting in the J League when he was 23 years old, bro. That's nuts. That's nuts, bro. That's pretty old, but putting up 13 goals and 12 assists in his first season.
Oh, so he's an immediate star over there.
He's like immediate. Oh, dang. Like God-given natural talent. Okay. Before joining Kawasaki Frontale in the J League, he actually played for Tsukuba University. And I guess that's where he got his schooling from. Yeah. Brighton buys him after that crazy season in the J League, and they loan him out to Union Saint-Gilloise to play in the Belgian league for 1 year.
No way.
And
how did he do there?
He put up 7 goals and 3 assists in the Belgian league. Not bad. And so from there, he was already 24, 25 years old, and Brighton said, come on over. And what we saw was what we saw last year. Yeah. That's essentially how that'll catch you up on Mitoma. That's basically it, because that's how short his career has truly been in the footballing landscape. We've talked about players, wonder kids, 17, 18 years old, already getting professional minutes. Mitoma didn't really truly get that until he was 23 or 24 in a top proper league, but he hasn't looked back since. No. And that's what really surprises me, but also makes sense, because you look at the way he plays. So smart on the ball, So clinical, so fancy too with his footwork and his decision making. A player that is so easy to root for because he oftentimes surprises you with what he's doing on the pitch, but he does it to absolute perfection. And he's figured out almost a mathematical way of how to dissect your opponent on that left wing. And he's quickly becoming probably one of Brighton's, if not their best player now, with most of the guys in the studs leaving to go to other bigger clubs. Mitoma truly represents Brighton's scouting, truly represents just a fun and exciting winger in the Prem, but also represents a late bloomer and a player that maybe you didn't shine in your early years, but if you stay focused, if you focus on the long-term goals, you can become one of the best players in the best league that exists right now in football. A guy that I was hoping, would quickly ascend, because I do see Mitoma at some point joining a big club after his stint at Brighton, is a guy like Chucky Lozano. Right?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about him a lot lately, man, because he was on that sort of rise, going off for PSV, going off for the national team, and then going to Napoli. It was assumed that he would do great there and then be able to make an even bigger move to like a Man United like Chicharito, to maybe even like a Real Madrid. Maybe we get a top 6 club involved here. But instead, Chucky Lozano ends up going back to PSV. And I checked out the game that PSV had against Almere, in which they won 4-0. Not a very strong opponent, but regardless, I was like, man, let me just see what Chucky looks like in this PSV jersey. And I really started thinking just like, man, what went wrong at the end of the day for Chucky? Because at one point this summer, he was being considered for LA Galaxy and like making a move over to the MLS or coming back to North America and CONCACAF. But he decided to stay in Europe. But he did, in a way, downgrade, going back to a lesser league in comparison to Serie A and Napoli. So PSV welcomes him back, but when you think about why couldn't Chucky ascend to a bigger club, here's what I have to say about it, man. Because I was watching his game, I was watching the way he plays, and I was really thinking about just how do I summarize his weaknesses and his strengths. And I think Chucky, too often, bro, lets his instincts take over his decision making. And we see it time and time again, because in order to be a successful winger, you almost have to find a way to balance out instincts and what you truly should be doing on the pitch. It's why so often we see guys just pissed off at each other, yelling after a missed opportunity, because sometimes it's like tunnel vision, right? You get past the guy, you forget about everything else on the pitch, and you just want to shoot the ball and score. And I feel like time and time again, I do see Chucky not make the smartest decisions as often as, or as effective as a guy like Mitoma, for example. I think that's always kind of held him back. He's very good with like small touches and creating danger in the box, very good at quick one-touch play, and it even showed in this game where he started on the right side, quickly touched the ball with his striker, and found himself completely wide open on the left side of the box with a clear shot. All he had to do was hit it with his left foot and just smack it. But what did he decide to do? He decided to three-toe poke it with his right foot, bro.
Oh, he went for a little flair.
He went for way too much flair, man.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting a terrible shot off that the keeper easily saved. But I think it represents his weaknesses and the issues that I have with him. He also does have a weird knack for like smacking the shit out of the ball. And it's why so often, if you look at Chucky highlights, a lot of his goals hit the top of the net. Rarely is he like a slotted finish, like calculated type of guy. He loves to just smack that ball as hard as he can, and he loves going with the power over accuracy approach, which it can be effective, but I think as a winger, you got to find a way to balance. And more than anything, that's what I'm getting at. I think Chucky lacks balance overall in decision-making, in shot-taking, and in finishing. Despite all that, I still think he'll probably get double-digit goals in the Eredivisie just because of the crazy influx he's going to have in opportunities with one of the best sides in Netherlands right now. But I don't know if it'll mean anything, because in the grand scheme of things, I think joining an elite club has now been ruled out for Chucky. I really do. Given his age and just where he's at now, I think he'll have a good few years here at PSV and maybe play at a team that's, lateral to what they are. But in the grand scheme of things, I think because of those things I pointed out, he won't find a way to truly make it in one of the top 6 clubs of the world. And it's just disappointing, because at one point I thought he was on that trajectory. And instead, I'm going to invest that hope and faith into Mitoma, baby.
Yeah, honestly, my take on Chucky Lozano's failure to be successful at Napoli and then to hopefully ascend after that, very similar to your take, honestly. For me, it's always been Chucky Lozano's inability to adapt offensively. which is pretty much the same take you have as far as being balanced or making the right decisions. Because it's the same thing that I have to say. Chucky Lozano, I think, is very one-dimensional. The thing is, in that one dimension, he is pretty good. He's very technical, as you said, very good tight control, and he is good in the box. He's good with little 1-2 touch plays, but that's it. He can't. He's never excelled this play to be a really good passing winger. Yeah. His crossing has never gotten better than when he was at Pachuca. You know, it's always been the same. And the thing is, his career trajectory from Pachuca to PSV, that type of playing style worked perfectly. It truly did. Yeah, it did. And then finally going to Napoli, to a more defensive league, truly, that's when that one dimension started to really fail him.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what his inability to consistently play well at Napoli really showed me that, because I would see him play for the Mexican national team and do some crazy things, but he would never do it on a consistent basis against high caliber teams. And that's when I started to notice, I was like, oh, okay, Lozano's really active, he's super eager, and he's probably our best offensive weapon, but he only plays one way. And if the defense figures out how to defend him, Lozano almost goes ghost.
It happens often, man.
It happens often. Yeah. And so I really started to notice that, and that translated over to his Napoli performances. And when you look at his Napoli career, he was never more than a rotation player. And, you know, to talk about a little bit more of the emotional side of Chucky Lozano's career, I will say, I think the coaching staff at Napoli, I don't know if they actually wanted Lozano. I'll be honest.
It always felt like that. Yeah. It really did.
And that can't be good if you're Chucky. Like, if you're trying to build your career, you're like, okay, I got this big move from PSV. I've gone from Pachuca all the way to Naples, Italy. This is exactly how you would want your career to go, but you're not actually wanted. Well, then how do you progress your career there? I think it could just be really, really tough. And I think because of that, the coaches at Napoli never saw him more than a rotation player, even if he had good performances. Because the thing is, there were moments when Chucky came on and actually changed the game for Napoli. Like, he had impact for Napoli. But the thing is that even when we would have those good performances, he'd still start on the bench the next game. So I'm just like, okay, well, that definitely told me that, you know, the coaches weren't fully in on Chucky as a player or as a starting winger for Napoli. And yeah, again, that just can't be good for the psyche of the player.
Do you think it has to do with his talent then, or is it a matter of like setting? Are you saying like if he had gone to like a different squad, like how, you know, Chicharito and Man United were like a match made in heaven almost,
it was so
right?
perfect for Chicharito.
Was there a team out there that could have been that for Chucky then in that scenario, or did he always have that ceiling of limitation at the end of the day with his game?
Dude, that's so hard to know, I feel like, because what if he had gone to a team that really would have utilized him perfectly, and what if he needed a perfect environment to kind of teach himself the game, right? He's like, okay, I'm in a tougher league, but I'm in a team that wants me. All right, let me improve my performances. But if you're at a team where you can feel that you're not really wanted, would you have the motivation to improve?
It's tough.
It's tough to know.
What we saw with Pulisic and Chelsea, man. Like, truly never having like a productive environment. Someone get in my throat. God damn! I said Pulisic. Fucking. God damn!
Pull the fucking hit of a cig, man.
Oh God! I think Pulisic is a very similar example too of a guy that couldn't truly find his form at Chelsea the way he deserved to.
Right.
And I feel like that's Chucky at Napoli. Now Pulisic is at AC Milan. He's finding himself to be a lot more productive. But I just wonder if PSV is that in this situation. Yeah. It's just I wonder how he would have performed at a top 6 club and had the right coaching behind him.
Yeah, I know. I really do wonder, because even then, what if he had gone to a really big club, but they were like, all right, we're going to use you as a rotation player, but with the idea that if you play well, you will easily be starting. I really don't think that was the idea at Napoli. I think he was max just a 12th man, essentially. Yeah. Like, he was never going to be more than that. And so, yeah, dude, it's a what if for Chucky.
I think so.
It really is.
I think so. And a player that I'm interested to see how his career pans out, to quickly just highlight what he did in the same league. Feyenoord faced off against Ajax in one of the biggest rivalries that happens in the Netherlands. Santi Gimenez found himself getting 2 fucking goals and an assist in this match, involved in every single goal, blowing out Ajax by the end of the first half, and going so far as having the game suspended by the 60th minute. riots outside of the stadium.
What?
We've heard of this before, man. In the Netherlands, when it comes to this matchup, there is a true hatred. But this time at the center of it was Santi Gimenez cooking them.
Yeah.
And doing it away from home in Ajax's stadium. Just putting on a fucking show, man. Honestly, one of the first times in a while where I felt genuinely proud of what a Mexican is doing overseas in European football.
Oh,
Because
damn,
it's truly
right.
felt like one of those performances. It's special, man. It's special. I'm happy for Santi Gimenez to do what he was doing, and the goals that he was scoring, some really high quality goals, man. At one point, I think the second one was my favorite one that he got, where he just slid by the defender on a one-on-one type situation and then finishes it past the keeper. He was talking shit this game. He was going toe-to-toe with the Ajax defenders. He feels truly, truly cemented in this Feyenoord squad. But more than anything, with what we saw Chucky go through in his career, I'm starting to ask the question, is it time for Santi Gimenez after the season to go to a bigger club?
You would have to go to the right one, I feel. It gets so finicky, I think, with CONCACAF players, to be completely honest, in Europe. It gets super finicky because if you really make the wrong decision, it truly might ruin your career. It's just really tough to recover from because, you know, respectfully, I think European clubs are always going to be a little... not avoidant, a little hesitant to sign a CONCACAF player if they could get like a French player,
100%.
right? And it makes sense. French players France produces better quality players on average. So I would have the same hesitancy too if I, you know, had a budget and I was looking at what players to buy. So the thing is, if you go to a wrong club and it doesn't work out, how are you really going to convince the next club to be like, hey, you know, I did have a bad, you know, stint at this European club, but I promise I can pick it up for you guys. Like, can you really make that negotiation? Honestly, I think not. Especially, it's really
tough
tough
to break through, man. It really is for a CONCACAF player.
So for Santi, yeah, I do think he needs to make a move. But maybe not. I don't know.
They're
feel
playing
like
Champions League football.
that's the thing. I would almost be more inclined for Santi to stay for like another year at Feyenoord rather than he move this next coming summer. I'll be completely honest. I would love for him to have a really good season this year and then repeat it next year too. So he could have 2 back-to-back seasons where he just dominates the Dutch league. I think that would be huge for Mexico and for Santi Gimenez himself. And then after that, he can prove to himself, okay, all right, great. It wasn't just a fluke year where I scored like 20 goals. I did it twice, back-to-back. Now I can go to either Italy or France or something like that. I'd actually be way more comfortable and confident for him to succeed if he did something like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like I think Edson Alvarez, he was at Ajax for a while before
Yeah,
he made his
there
move,
we go,
right?
yeah,
I think
exactly.
longer than what Chucky was at PSV. So I'd be down for that too, but it is for me, I have a ingrained concern and fear about what team he goes to, man, because
Dude,
I
I do
don't
too.
want the Napoli type situation to happen. I'm looking across from me right now. Maybe Atleti, bro. Maybe.
If Morata's looking bad, then yeah, we'll need a striker because we
timing
really
matches
don't
up.
have a backup number 9. It really is just Morata, and then we use Depay as a secondary and Griezmann as a secondary. But we'll see. I think Morata's be really tough to replace just because of his consistency.
For sure, but Simeone is Argentine and Santi Gimenez is partially Argentine. I could see him in that jersey look really nice. I wonder, I'm just so curious, does he go to the Prem? Does he go to La Liga? Does he go to Serie A, or does he just stay at Feyenoord and dominates there for like the rest of his career? Maybe he becomes a Feyenoord legend. Maybe that's what he ends up becoming, bro. Like,
nuts.
Regardless, it is really good to see that at the very least he's able to do this now, which is play at a really, really high level and be one of, if not the best striker in the Eredivisie as of right now.
So there's a bit of a revival going on in Valencia.
You think so?
And it's really interesting because pretty much for the last 6 years, Valencia have been virtually non-existent in the landscape of La Liga and especially in Europe. The last time they were relevant was back in like the 17-18 season when the great Valencian collapse occurred, where they were top of the table midway through the league and then ended up finishing like 6th or something.
Damn.
Like it was crazy. They were joint top with Barcelona halfway through, and then they completely lost it.
Whoa.
And they never refound that form. Never.
Whoa.
For the last 6 years. Low key, they've even been flirting with relegation at times. They've always avoided it, but Valencia just have not been good for quite a long time. And when you think about like the mid 2010s, you know, there's some crazy games happening at Mestalla. You know, there were some really good European performances going on, and seeing the Mestalla filled on a European night was like a big thing. But, watching them recently this season, I believe they're like in 6th place. They have 10 points after 5 games. Not bad. 6 points off of Barcelona. Pretty good start for Valencia. But when you look at their games, the biggest sense of emotion that I get is hope. It's crazy, man, because you can feel it. You can feel it out on the pitch with the players themselves, but the fans too. Like, they're way louder. They're super active. They're way more into the action of the game. And the thing is, I think it's spearheaded by 2 players, Javi Guerra and Fran Perez, 2 academy players for Valencia, and they wear that Valencian heart on their sleeves, dude. It's nuts to watch them. Yeah, one's 20, the other's 21.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they both start. It's so cool, man. Yeah. It's so cool to see because you can see they have one true love in their hearts, and it's Valencia. It's nuts because every time they get on the ball, the crowd gets up. Yeah. And every time they themselves get the ball, they're immediately looking to go to goal. It's so cool to see. And then, up top, you also have a player like Sergi Canos, ex-Brentford player, who's Valencian himself. So there's like a really cool Valencian contingent that's going on in Valencian club itself. And I think it's propelling this club to just be hopeful within themselves, to be like, look, we've had a rough couple years, but let's use the Valencian talent that we have and let's bank on it. Yeah. And it's working, bro. The fans are loving it. The players themselves, even though they may not be winning every game, they got a 2-2 draw against Almeria this past week, but beat Atletico the week before 3-0. Yeah. Valencia is looking really, really good, but more importantly, looking truly hopeful. Honestly, it's so cool to see. And then, at the back, they have really good defenders. John Mosquera, really interesting mix. He's a Colombian Spaniard. And then next to him, you have Diakabi, 2 just units defensively. They're huge. And it just makes for really good football. Valencia is looking really good. They're playing really positive offensive style. And, yeah, I think Valencia is on the way back to being relevant.
Yeah,
which
we're
is
not
just
talking
so
top
good
contenders, but bro, there was a time last year where they were in the conversation of getting kicked out of La Liga, but it showed kind of the branding, the representation, the way people thought about Valencia really showed last year when they were in the same situation Sevilla was in. Yeah. But it felt like the masses wanted Sevilla to get relegated, right? Yeah. But as for Valencia, almost everyone behind the scenes was like, I hope they can stay in. I hope they can stick it out because of what they were able to do in the early 2010s, but also the 2000s. They were really prominent. I think they won the league like in the early 2000s or late 90s, I think.
I think so,
So Valencia has been like, in terms of achievements, like a top 5 La Liga side in history. So they're important, man. And I'm glad to hear, because I haven't checked on them yet, or I haven't seen any of their games yet, to hear that there's something positive going on after what was a really, really bad season. They lost Yunus Musa. They lost Kluivert, the Dutchman as well. Yeah. But it seems like they've kind of been able to fill those gaps then, especially in the midfield.
Yeah, it's literally just their own talent. That's the thing, is that they're not spending money realistically, and it's working because they're just believing in themselves. But I think that's kind of what they needed, because there was, for the longest time, there was hope of we need to spend money, but their owner was really reluctant to do so. So there's a disconnect between what the people wanted and what the management wanted. Yeah. But I think finally everyone's on the same page. Let's just use what we've got and let's go for it. And I think it's truly, truly working.
Then I'll ask you this: does Valencia finish in the top 6 this season?
I think they're going to get really close if they don't. So I see them finishing top 10 for sure, but I actually could see them finishing 5th or 6th. Okay. And if they really, really push for it, maybe they'll try to get that 4th spot. They won't get higher than 4th, but I definitely could see them finish in the top 7 for sure. But the way they're playing right now, I think they're trying to do something pretty special that they haven't done, dude, in a long time. That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. So cool to see.
Then I'll equal that energy of positivity and improving upon a bad season with what Girona's doing.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Girona in 2nd place right now, especially with Real Madrid's cemented loss today. They've got 2nd place secured as of right now, and they're playing some really surprising football, defeating Mallorca 5-3 this past weekend. But some of the players on this team really surprised me, bro. Daley Blind is here. Daley Blind is here, and I was thinking about it, bro. This man truly is, like, could pass as a Spaniard. He looks like he could be like Iniesta's older brother. Yeah. You look at him, losing the hair, but a very wise man on the ball. Very smart, very experienced. He's in Girona. And then when you look at up front and who they have, like in terms of exciting talent, they got 2 Ukrainians, a right winger and a striker. I could try to pronounce their names. It's fucking hard. Dovbik and Viktor Tsigankov.
Yeah.
I would say is the right winger. They got Christian Stuani on the bench. That's a name that stood out to me because I've heard of him before. Yangel Herrera, the Venezuelan, 25 years old. If you look at Girona highlights, all you will see is Venezuelans in the comments because he seems to be the only shining light for that national team.
Yeah.
Gazzaniga, who I always thought of to be a really solid goalkeeper, at one point played for Tottenham, but then got loaned out and then bought out by Girona. And then most importantly, bro, the man that has been putting on a show this entire season with 2 goals and 3 assists in 6 games for this Girona squad, Savinho, a 19-year-old Brazilian. When we often make comparisons, sometimes we'll call players like a poor man's version of a certain guy. Savinho is a middle-class version of Vinny Jr. Middle class.
Okay.
So he's not even a poor man's version.
Sure.
Middle class, bro, because his dribbling ability is really, really solid. He's got quick feet. He can beat his man one-on-one. He's really confident on the ball. And it's pretty good decision-making so far from what I've seen in this small sample size because keep in mind, we see situations like this almost every single year in La Liga where a team starts off really hot, finds their way into the top 3, and then they flame out. I'm not saying Girona will stay there, but I am going to highlight them for what they've been able to achieve so far, which is a really impressive start. Girona's in the top 3, bro.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth celebrating for now because this could go away soon.
Yeah, I hope not, but it absolutely could. The track record for teams like Girona are not good. It's not good. But offensively, they've been brilliant. I remember at the beginning of the season, I had concerns about offenses in La Liga because for the most part, they're not that great, or more specifically, they're not that clinical. But what Girona are doing is they're scoring goals like freely. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, yeah. And it was 5-1. Like they led in 2 late goals. Like they killed Mallorca. And so it's just really, really good to see. Really, really good to see. On the opposite end, though, Betis. Oh. Literally the opposite, dude. Betis are having a horrendous season. For real? Man. Horrendous,
I thought Isco was going to carve something up or something. I thought there's something positive going.
And that's what's really sad about it is that Isco, he's like their star player, right? Because he's their biggest name and he plays every single second. He gets the starting position as their attacking midfielder. And he still has moments of pure class. But, dude, the players around him, not good. Fuck. Not good.
Who do they have?
They have Jose Perez. They have Borja Iglesias. Players like that. They have Brazilian Luis Enrique. I don't know if that's his exact name, but something like that. I think they still have William Jose, possibly. I don't know if that's correct, but they have talent, but none of them are working. Like their chemistry is at an all-time low. This Betis squad, and it's pretty pathetic. It's really bad to see, bro. It's really bad to see.
Did they play this past weekend? What
they tied Cádiz.
Damn.
Yeah, tying Cádiz at the weekend and, losing last weekend as well. Yeah. Betis they're a shadow of the exciting football they once played. I would say, for the last 5 years. They were never going to crack the top 4, but they at least played somewhat prominent and positive offensive football. But dude, this is the worst Betis squad I have seen in a long time. And it's just kind of sad to see, especially when you see a guy like Isco, who was so good at Madrid for small moments and then was, incredible at Malaga. It's just really sad to see him just be with a team that is not playing good football.
Okay, then let me ask this. Assuming Barca and Madrid are in contention for the first and second place in La Liga, third to Atletico Madrid.
Third to be Atletico, yeah.
Who's that fourth team then? Yeah. Is it a Girona? Is it a I would say Real Sociedad, but they're in 10th. They actually didn't start off. They haven't started off well in the league. Yeah. Is it Villarreal? Is it
Villarreal's had a weird start.
Betis, Valencia. Is it Bilbao, who actually I think has been kind of pretty solid so far? Results, yeah. Who ends up getting that best team outside of the top 3 in La Liga?
Yeah, honestly, it would be dope if Girona can maintain somewhat consistency offensively, because if so, that fourth place spot is wide open for them. I think Sociedad have picked it up over the last 2 weeks, especially getting a decent result in the Champions League.
Yes.
So for Sociedad, I think they definitely could fight for that fourth spot, even though they're in 10th right now. So yeah, I guess right now, I would probably say Girona, Sociedad, and you know what? Fuck it, I'll include Valencia for now. But, Bilbao.
Yeah.
Athletic as well. Yeah. But my problem with Athletic is They hit these ruts, man, every single season. Every season. I see them win like 5 games in a row. Like, okay, Atletic's here. They're here. And every single season, they'll go on like a 10-game streak where they get like 6 draws and 4 losses. And I'm just like, God damn it, man. And it sets them way back, and then they have to win some games to get back to where they were. It's super frustrating to see Atleti play season to season. So that's why I would actually give it a higher chance to a team like Sociedad, who they're more consistent in trying to get close to that 4 spot.
Personally, I'd want Vallecano. I'm a Vallecano fan, bro.
Yeah,
and I've been wanting
fun.
them. But where the hell is Osasuna in this conversation, bro? They're in.
No, Osasuna's not doing well.
Oh yeah, they're in 11th.
Yeah.
I remember them having a solid season last year.
They had a solid season. Yeah, maybe they made the Copa del Rey final.
But damn.
They're not. The thing is, they're not bad.
It's early.
They're not going to get relegated, but it's Osasuna. I think they'll finish mid-table.
It's early. And Sevilla's still fighting relegation. Good God.
So as I say every week, I've been watching a lot of Italian football, and more specifically, I would love to get any Argentines' perspective on this one take that I have. Not even a take; it's just a fact. There's this player, Mateo Retegui, who plays for Genoa. He just got signed by them this summer. Born and raised in Argentina, was the top goal scorer in the Argentine league last year for Tigre.
Oh, I have heard about him. Wow, okay.
And so I've seen him play 3 times now in
how's
Serie
he
A for
doing?
Genoa. Actually, not bad. I actually thought he'd be a little worse than I gave him credit for, but he's actually kind of impressed me. More so, what he's really, really good at is his runs. He's super active and makes very, very intelligent diagonal runs. So he's always open and he's always eager to break that back line. And at that point, it's just up to his midfielders to feed him. And he generally has a pretty good first touch. And if he gets a chance in front of goal, he's not afraid to take it. And he's got a pretty powerful shot, and he's pretty accurate. I don't think he's going to score that many goals for Genoa this season. I think he'll get at least 10, which is pretty good for his debut season in Europe. I think, and the thing is, I don't even know if he's the limiting factor. It actually might be his midfielders. Okay. Maybe if he was on a better team, Retegui could score more goals. But for me, what it really is, the thing that I would love to hear any Argentines take on this is he's chosen to represent Italy.
Really?
Yes. Through his grandparents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his grandparents are Italian. And the thing is, I get it. My grandparents are Mexican, so I actually have a pretty decent amount of Mexican culture because of that. So I could see him like growing up in Argentina, but having some Italian traditions, right? But it's Argentina, It's one of the biggest footballing nations in the world, and he was born and raised there, played there, was the top goal scorer there in Argentina, but has chosen to represent Italy. Pretty crazy.
I mean, I don't blame it, though. From a business decision perspective, I do think it's the better decision. He's not getting in Argentina for the next 10 years, bro.
It is the better decision.
Italy
but
needs
I just think it's a little blasphemous for a team like Argentina, because it's almost like you're at that point you were literally denying Maradona and Messi and every other Argentine player before you. And look at the passion of Argentina. That's what I'm getting at. It's actually a great decision. So I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning just the pure footballing spirit of denying Argentina, one of the most storied countries in football.
That's if he just always had that art? Like he was that kid in class that like swore
who was proud Italian.
Yeah. Like what if he was that guy? But
that's what I'm at. That's why I'm opening this up. I'm not having any take here. I'm just laying out the facts. And I'm surprised by what the facts are telling me.
Has he started for the national team yet?
So here's what's crazy. He played in March on his first call-up. So he was playing in Argentina at the time. Gets called up by Mancini. And he is the first Italian player to score 2 goals on his debut since like 1960.
Fuck, man. Fuck.
So it already worked out brilliantly for him.
Yeah. We spoke about this literally midweek, just a few days ago, about how this Barcelona side is, to us, one of the more intriguing sides that we've seen from them produced in the last 4 or 5 years. Because it's a team that, on paper, has really good names, on the field has really good chemistry, and has so far strung out some really good results. And I felt like we almost had that give-and-go curse come into play when I looked at the scoreline and saw that they were down 2-0 to Celta Vigo by the 80th minute. I was like, okay, once again, the curse of a pundit, the curse of a podcaster. We say one thing positive about a team, and they go on to fucking embarrass us the next game after. And Barcelona was making me question what I was saying, because I was trying to be positive about them, what they're ultimately going to achieve this season. But being down 2-0 to Celta Vigo made me questionable. But then what happened, bro? We saw a 15-minute spell of pure Barca greatness, in which they score 3 goals to get back into the match, tie it up, and then take the lead with 2 goals from, I think, Leva, and then the third goal being Joao Cancelo.
Yeah.
Barcelona is feeling themselves now.
Yeah.
3-2 victory, showing more than anything that there is a different mentality in this team that they have not had in years, and pulling out a result that I truly don't think they would have been able to pull out even as recently as last season. This is massive from this team. I think this is a really good sign for them to have early on in the season, facing adversity and then going on to win in the fashion that they did. There are concerns. There are reasons for why I don't think this team will ultimately challenge in the Champions League race. But within the league and within themselves, it's improvement. And Barca, with a result like this, has definitely improved.
Yeah, the 2 Joaos getting involved, Felix getting a honestly beautiful assist to Leva with a crazy finish.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous to start the comeback. And yeah, it was just 15 minutes of pure Barca.
Yeah.
It really was. It was vintage. They just came back. They really turned it on. But that's it really is vintage Barca in the sense that, like, they can kill you just in a 10 to 20 minute spell. Like, that's all Barcelona really need and have needed when they've been at their best, because they just have so many offensive options, man. So many offensive options. And especially with the inclusions of Felix and Cancelo, you know, it really just adds to it. Yeah. Gavi getting a beautiful assist to provide Cancelo that third goal to win it all. Barcelona have a lot of ability on the ball to kind of just kill you. But I'm going to have the same take I had at midweek.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to be fully convinced of this Barca squad until they do this against a Champions League caliber side that is actually just as good as them, and then Barcelona get the result, because I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in a long time. And the only reason why I'm not super excited about this Barca squad yet is because they won the league last year, right? Yes. So it's just like, okay, well, they're beating Celta again. Yes, this time it was in really good fashion, and it's good for them because, you know, they can remember this and they can maybe use something like this in the Champions League this year. That is the good thing. I just need to see it happen. That's it.
Oh, for sure. Beyond that, then, like, do you think Xavi is the guy that, when Barcelona does reach that level of greatness, if they do, I think they will one day, just knowing how they operate and the money they put into their club within the next 10 years, do you think it'll be Xavi that is heading the squad when they are finally able to come back to, like, true, genuine Champions League and La Liga prominence in terms of, like, dominating the way they did throughout the whole 2010s?
Dude.
Will it be Xavi leading them, bro?
That's crazy. The thing is, I don't see why not. He won the league last year. I have them winning it again this year. So I think the minimum is win La Liga, and I think Xavi keeps his job. As long as they don't just crash out in Champions League group stages, I don't think that's going to really put Xavi's job on the line. But if he has a poor La Liga campaign, I think that's what's going to do him in. But if that never happens and Xavi's just first, second place in La Liga for the next, like, 5 years, I just don't see why they would lose Xavi or let him go. I just don't see it. He's gotten Barcelona to this point, and we've already said it, the most exciting Barca squad we've seen in a long time. He started this campaign last year by winning the league. So I think he's just honestly building this team to something even greater. So, yeah, I see Xavi honestly in this seat for a while, bro. For a while.
And when you think about even not league related, like, the matchups he's had against Real Madrid and El Clásicos, he's actually gotten pretty good results so far. I think the last time they faced off was actually in Arlington during their exhibition season. And they won 3-0 or some shit. Like, and that was under Xavi. He's been able to kind of almost be Real Madrid's kryptonite during his time and his tenure. So you add that on top of his resume, I don't see why you would risk it with any up-and-coming manager that isn't as connected to Barca as Xavi. But I just wonder if, when it comes to those big moments, those big games, I want to see how Xavi reacts. Let's see how it goes, man. But for now, the Xavi project is looking really good.